Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Crypto Talks. My name is Phil. I'm joined by Rob, who's on this side, which I've finally learned that this pointing this way is the right way. It only took like a year.
Yeah, in exactly the same way that I still always wave in my left hand like that off the side of the.
Yeah. No,
Just
it's
every time.
it's
Yeah,
supposed
bye-bye.
to be awkward. It's supposed to be awkward. We're awkward people. So this is our first one this year together. Last week I did a solo one, which was it felt really weird, to be honest, but it works.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. You owe me $20.
Yeah,
Maybe.
sure.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Right. So Bitcoin is currently breaking through some levels that I talked about last week, and at this point, we're kind of just figuring out: will this be kind of like a wicking bounce, or will we see a continued downtrend to somewhere? Because the line that it's currently fighting, which I'm going to bring up on the screen here in a few seconds, is actually a major support level. And it's currently breaking at the same time as it's breaking through 40K. So it's two things. And then we also have another one, which I'm going to bring up right now. Either way, let's see. Here's the current chart that we always look at. It's not changed that much over the course of the months that we've been doing this as a live show. But essentially, the big trend line that I'm talking about here is we broke out of this channel back here at 38K, which is a major trend line right here. And here's the second part of it, so that makes the channel. And we're currently actually peeking through that right now. Bitcoin is at 39.8. And yeah, I'm going to zoom in right away and just say the super trend here as well, by the way, is it's failing it currently. It can still be a wick and just, we can still come up through that and not break it. But currently it looks like we're breaking the super trend, which tends to stay red for a little while at least. I don't remember the last time we saw a super trend break on the daily that stayed for like 2 days and then it was out. So for me, this is right now. It's looking, if it closes where it is right now, I'm leaning fairly heavily towards a continued downtrend. But I'm not sure where to though, because like I said, this trend line is part of it's the upper trend line of a trading channel that we were in for almost the entirety of 2023. And well, actually, the entirety of 2023, actually, now that I think of it. And if we come back into that, does that mean we're going to go back to the bottom of the trend right here? Don't think so. But again, I don't know how many times anyone has said, oh, it's not going to do that, and then it does it anyways. But, I don't know, Rob, what do you think here? Because I know you have an argument for...
So, I think a lot of the kind of fear, a lot of the selling of, this is clearly ETF related, and there's a lot of fear around it. It's like, oh yeah, there's everyone GBTC are dumping tens of thousands of Bitcoin, and there's a lot of things going on right now, and just there's a thing. If I just share my screen, which I'm not currently doing, then what we can just have a look at is, so these are all the ETFs that have currently launched. I've just got them on the side here. So the chart's not so important because they all kind of show the same thing, which is a very short period of Bitcoin. But what's worth noting is the actual prices, because what I've done is I've actually normalized the number of shares to make them equivalent to one Bitcoin. And so you can see here you've got prices trading between as low as the IBIT one is 44. So yeah, GBTC, we see that's causing a lot of the fear. That's trading down at 35,000 right now. There's another one trading at 39,000, but the rest of them are all well into the 40s. You've got 47, 45, 46, and this is sort of thing I mentioned last time, where when the ETF launched, where we did the video where we're saying that the price can deviate away from Bitcoin because they represent just the claim on they can represent the claim of one Bitcoin, but each fund only has a finite number of shares, and if there's high demand for those shares on a particular platform, it will deviate upwards, and that's going to present an opportunity for somebody to then, who holds that fund, to say, I'm going to sell that one and I'm going to buy one that's cheaper. And eventually all of these price differentials will sort of be arbitraged out. And what I think is kind of clear is, if you exclude GBTC, which is kind of traded at a discount for a long time and is continuing to do so, all of the other funds are currently in the region of 39 to 48,000, and we're sitting at the low end of this range. So although yes, technically we're coming, we're just saying we're breaking through the support, we haven't broken through it yet. This is still an ongoing candle. This is just the first candle of the week. There's a long week left to go, but I think it's sort of, I'm not too worried about it at the moment, because I'm looking at it going, okay, we've dumped quite heavily. We've dumped over about 22%, I think, now from the peak. We can just take a look. If I go here, so yeah, from the peak, we are now currently 19% down. And so yeah, this is kind of in the range where we're saying we'd like to buy dips at 20% or more.
Yep.
It's kind of a logical place to come down, and I think, as you mentioned, quite, there's a lot of room to move down if we're going to move down. Yeah, as in this is about as low as we're going to go, unless we're going a lot lower. And I don't really see that, because we've seen that we're not seeing these Bitcoin ETFs trading at significant discounts. And if there was going to be an ETF-led sell-off, then that's exactly what we would be seeing. We'd seen these ETFs would be selling and trading below the price of Bitcoin, and they're not. We're just seeing, it's just a moving around of the deck chairs. There's a lot of people that have now allocated, that have bought because, simply because they have a representation to their customers. These are, if they're institutional people and they have clients that say, we want exposure to this fund, and they use the VanEck fund, then on day one they're going to go and buy the VanEck one. They're going to buy the ARK one. They're going to buy whichever one they use on their platform, and they won't particularly care about the overall price of Bitcoin. They won't. It doesn't really matter to them. They'll just allocate their customers' money because that's what they're told to do. So yeah, this is gonna go on for a while, and this is this, you kind of have to think about what this means in terms of the available liquidity to trade, which is that you've seen Bitcoin started off trading like altcoins, and then it slowly matured. And so now a 20% move in Bitcoin is a big deal, whereas for altcoins that's nothing. That's that's a breakout. So but Bitcoin became less volatile as it became more and more and more massive. Well, now we just stepped in serious terms into the institutional world, a world where trillions of dollars, tens of trillions of dollars are on the line in a particular fund. Bitcoin is back to being a shitcoin again. Ultimately, that's what it is. We want this kind of exposure to push us up, push the price up, but that price rise has to come with volatility, and that volatility is down as well as up. And don't be scared of the volatility, because it will shake you out. And if you bought at 44,000, I picked some up above where we're at, around 41, and I'm going to buy some more over time as we get these dips, but I'm not in a rush to sell or to let this go. This is adding to my long-term term here. This is the buying opportunity that you've been waiting for since since the start of December. You're talking the cheapest prices in 2 months. So anybody who waited, who saw the breakout and said, I'm not going to allocate my capital here until we get a sizable drop. This is why this is what we've been talking about all the way along. The dips will come. You don't have to go all in on one dip. Take your time. If you allocate here and it goes up, great. If it goes down further, great. You can buy more. If you go balls deep here and then Bitcoin drops to $32,000, well, then you're holding the bag for a while.
Okay. Well,
that doesn't mean it's a problem long term.
No,
but
you have to differentiate between traders and investors, right? This is why we keep saying you need to know if you're an investor, and if you say to yourself, "I'm an investor," if there's volatility, cool, buy the dip. If you're a trader, cool, buy the dip, sell at the peak, right? It's like volatility is something you should be happy about if you're a trader, and if you're an investor too, because you want to be able to buy more and add to it. So let's quickly just talk about where we might see support, finding support if we continue on down here. Again, just to reiterate here, this can become a wick, right? Over the course of the evening, right? When I wake up tomorrow in Sweden, this candle might have a wick that's all the way up here and it closes above the super trend and everything is just fine and we're starting to move up. That can happen. However, currently we're seeing some liquidations going on, which is why we have these kind of, if you zoom in a bit, you'll see, I'll just take the 1 minute just through a point here. So you're seeing these steps down where it suddenly goes really fast, boop, and it just keeps picking off these cascading liquidations in futures, for example. You see this right here currently happening. You can see it happening right now. And it usually goes down, then it comes up a little bit, goes sideways, and then comes down even further if it wants to, until it finds that real bottom where, the trend reverses. And again, this is the 1 minute, and I don't want anyone here who is not experienced to look on the 1 minute because it will just scare you. I mean, this looks really nasty, right? So I'm going to go back to the daily here. So we're going to have to try to look for support, and we already have things drawn up here. The first nearest one for me here is around 38 right here. Because remember when we broke through this, if you were watching us back then, when we finally broke through this trend line that we just cracked through right here, we were at about 38. So right here somewhere, we have let's see, is it H? It's not H. I can't remember the horizontal. It is H. Why didn't it work? All right. So somewhere around here, 38K. That's support for me, at least a little bit. And right below that, we have a fib level, which is drawn from the bottom of the bear market to this peak right here. These are two support levels that I think are fairly strong. The RSI is coming down towards being oversold. And that, for me, just eyeing this, it lines up pretty well. I'm not going to lie, right? That we do need to see a little bit more down here to kind of bounce on this, and the RSI will be somewhere around oversold. And this is just me. This is guesstimating, okay? So please don't just take this as that's the perfect bottom. But overall, like the next actual real support level for me after this, if this breaks through, it's gonna be this line right here that's anchored over here back in May 2022, and it lines up with the 382 fib level pretty perfectly, and these tops right here. So I mean, can we see 32? That would be a correction of let's call it 35%. Is that unheard of in Bitcoin's history? No.
So there is something that is quite sort of clear, which is that Bitcoin has moved towards having less frequent but deeper corrections, and what we've seen over 2023 is very unusual. We've not seen this type of behavior since, I'd say, 2016, of this sort of slow moving step up for basically an entire year without any real major shakeout. And 20-25%, no, that's not a shakeout. I'm talking, we've had 50% drops in 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22. It's normal for Bitcoin to have a 50% drop in a year. We haven't had a 50% drop in all of 2023.
No, we had corrections of 18 to 21%, somewhere around there.
Just so precedent will say, it is very unlikely that we don't have a drop of at least 40% and likely 50% some point this year. That's just pure statistics, purely statistically likelihood based on what Bitcoin does.
Yep.
It doesn't have to do it, but yeah.
I mean, if we're gonna look at it just to compare, I did touch on this last stream as well. So you were talking about this area right here, 2016, where we had basically just chugging upwards, and had some small corrections. Well, small. I mean, they were corrections of 37% right here.
Yeah.
But
Bitcoin,
nothing like
Bitcoin
massive,
was much smaller. Yeah, Bitcoin was much smaller back then. So potentially we could start to see the same sort of behavior where we start to see really violent move upwards and then really violent corrections. And it starts to feel really, really horrible, but the price is going nuts. It's not going to be pretty. And that's it. It's kind of one of those things. It's like every dip you buy, oh no, it's going to dip more. Every time it rallies, it goes ape shit, and you've missed the rally. Yeah, it's real roller coaster stuff. Yeah, and that would be nice. I think.
I mean, I don't mind. I want to buy more, so I'd be happy to see a downtrend for. I mean, seeing that type of thing going down to 32, getting back to 32. Do you imagine how cheap that is? You've been sitting around now for the past a whole bunch of months waiting for, like, oh man, it's going up, I should have bought it earlier, blah blah blah. Well, maybe your chance is coming up here, and so I just want to show you where I'm coming from here. So to look at where we are right now, and we've mentioned this before, right now the RSI on the weekly is right here. We've just crossed, I don't know if that's visible on the screen, but just the moving average of the RSI has crossed through and over the RSI itself. That happened last it was during the bull market, obviously, but we had a pre-bull run right here where we had exactly the same kind of behavior on the RSI, at least from the weekly, where we had this nice top right here. And this rally has been much longer but much slower, and now we're seeing kind of the same behavior here on the RSI. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to copy paste this exact move and have let's see how big that correction was. If you count this one, 71% correction. Probably not. Let's measure from here, because this was the COVID crash right here. So if we look at just the regular crash, if you ignore the COVID crash, that's 54%. And Bitcoin again was much smaller here, right? So if we get kind of the same behavior here and we correct to 32, right down here. Wait, where is it? Oh, I've messed it up. My bad. Wrong chart. But yeah, the correction down here would be a 35% correction from the top. And I just want you take note here that throughout the entire year of 2023, Rob and I had one target where we would say, here's where the pre-bull run will stop, and we might see a correction or a sideways move for a while. That I'm quoting us right basically on the dot here. And that was 48K, or this peak right here. And this is essentially exactly where we went. And so I'm not saying we're going to be right all the time, but our track record through 2023 with all the corrections and all the bounces and all the peaks were pretty much on the money. And so I'm feeling fairly confident in saying that the support levels that we see are going to be hit. The likelihood of a deeper correction than 38, something like that, for me is not very high. The reason being it's too, people are not too bullish. Like, usually when you get these major corrections, it's because everyone is super greedy, right? We're currently on neutral right now, and we have been for, I think, 2 weeks on the neutral side of the Fear and Greed Index. And there's a lot more experienced money in this game right now that probably will be able to hold prices up at certain levels. I mean, this is just speculation, but for me, it just, I have a hard time seeing 32. I'll be honest. And again, I could be super wrong. I could be super wrong, but
well,
yeah.
Do you want to see a nasty chart?
Sure. Where you at? Here we go. Oh, that's nice.
Oh, that's nice. Yep. So, analogous much?
Well, this is exactly what I was talking about.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, this is it. But so that's when you say you expect institutions potentially to hold the line as it is at a certain price, I kind of think the opposite. I think institutions would very, very much like to take every opportunity to push this as low as it possibly can do. And if we want to take a look back at history and looking at the previous bull market, where you have a very, very, very clear big doji candle on top of the RSI sort of maxing out and then in several weeks rolling over. The RSI was oversold, and this is on the weekly chart, so a lot of oversold conditions. And then you look where we are right now, and it is almost a copy paste of the technical setup that we're at.
Yep, precisely.
And yeah, this is got a long way to go down. I've taken to the ultimate prices here, but if it's you're talking about anybody fancy a $25,000 Bitcoin again?
I'll take it, but
this is the difficulty with saying I'll take it, is can you hold off from deploying your capital long enough for you to not have deployed by the time it gets down there? And this is the difficulty with always saying I'm going to buy the dip. And it's great if you if you're DCA and you're buying monthly, great. If you're a trader, the big money moves are made during these. If you can not necessarily nail an absolute top, but if you can pick up a price that's saying, okay, it's dropped 20%, but this is failing on multiple technical levels on a long-term chart, exactly what's going on right now, then if you're brave and you set up a position, then if you can sell Bitcoin at 42, 43,000 and rebuy it at 27, 28, that is a banger of a mid-cycle trend. And you shouldn't be able to expect to get that every time, because it is. We look at it now and going, well, Bitcoin's only just invalidating the uptrend. It's only just saying, oh yeah, I feel like cooling off for a bit, and it's 20% down. This isn't like it's 5% from the top. These things can drop a long way before they even stop being bullish, and that's why being a trader is hard. And that's why selling tops is hard, because at any point over the last 2 months, any of these tops could have looked like tops, and you can sell them and then it carries on, and then eventually you kind of go, oh no, it's going to carry on going up, and that's when it decides it's going to fall. These markets are designed to shake people out, and it's I kind of do just look at what happened back in 2019, 2020, and okay, the timing may not be perfect, I do still think we're due a COVID-style wipeout at some point. I'll maintain that, but nobody knows when, because as things stand, one of the ironic features of war making everybody, ironically makes everybody shit scared. But when everyone thinks that militaries are going to start popping off everywhere, an awful lot of money gets printed during those times, and ultimately, it's kind of ironic that uncertainty, in this case of the global security issues, that creates a lot of uncertainty, which should be bearish for assets. But if you know that such an issue is going to cause massive debasement of currency, well, then every asset is a lifeboat. Every asset is better than cash, and you'll just buy assets no matter what. And I get the feeling that's what we are seeing to an extent. Is just safety. And
I think if you add on top of all that, go ahead.
I'll say just the thing that we should be wary of then is that Bitcoin isn't looking like a sign of safety right now. It isn't. Mm-hmm. It hasn't just ETF launch take off. So all that narrative. And we warned. We say we did. But I know that we warned about this, saying that it could well be a buy the rumor, sell the news event. We're both in agreement. I think that the ETF long term is ultra giga bullish for Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
However, that short term, it could be a top, and at least in this short term, for the past 2 weeks, it's proven to be so.
Yeah, I mean, it proves that the technicals are actually stronger than the fundamentals at this point, because like I said, we had predicted 48K for 49K for I don't know how long, and we ended up there, and then the ETF came out basically just days before that peak, so it pumped. It actually on the day it came out, it pumped up to that level, and then fell over, and then it became sort of a everything is topping out, and along with that, you have GBTC, people selling GBTC to move into cheaper fees, ETF with cheaper fees, for example.
Which also,
and then on top of that,
it's another thing that makes no sense.
Yeah, it makes no sense. But people do things. Either way, so we know that people are selling off GBTC and moving into others, because GBTC has sold off, I can't remember, 50 to 100,000 BTC or something like that. And those
60
have been
something was the last number I saw.
Yeah, something like that. So let's call it 50K plus. And the other ETFs have grown by about the same and a little bit more. So I think about 80,000 total. So new money has come in and money has been moved out, and that's skewed the prices, as you so nicely shown us right here. But at the same time, like with this correction coming down, and let's say we go to 38, like I said, I think where we might see that going. One of the big reasons to why I don't see us going to 32 for me personally is because everybody knows that we're less than 100 days away from the halving, for example, and that's a major event. It always has been, through Bitcoin's history. And yes, it doesn't have that much effect right now than it had like last time and the time before that. However, it's with the ETFs coming in, and I know miners are setting up OTC desks, over-the-counter sells, to directly sell to ETFs, etc., etc. A lot less new Bitcoins are going to come onto the market, right? Already. And that's already happening. And then on top of that, the halving comes in, which halves the new supply. And if we look at I'm going to show the rainbow chart just real quick, just because that has the halving. Let me just real quick here. So the halving last time occurred well after the peak that we're currently at, with our comparison, right? The halving is very close right now. It's just 3 months, and right after the halving, we basically started a new bull trend. That's happened basically every time, right? And I'm not saying that's going to happen now, but if we see a correction now, it's Bitcoin basically has 3 months to come down to the 32 level that we were talking about. And, you know, let's give it, I mean, this is 60 days to get down here. Can it do that and then bounce? I mean, yeah,
Can we just flip onto my chart for a second?
Yeah, but you see what I'm saying, right? It's like,
yeah,
we do have the time to get there, but it's going to be a
So-
very steep decline to get
That's
there.
it. Yes, it can.
Yes, but that's a
That's the
Black
thing.
Swan event. You got to keep that in mind
But
too.
then,
what you're
so
talking
that is
about
it.
here.
But then at the same time, when you said that Bitcoin started a new bull trend afterwards, that also was a Black Swan event. The
Mhm.
printing of gazillion, trillion, quintillion dollars, and just throwing it into the US public's purse, of which, although many people desperately needed that money, many people didn't, and it just created a glut of money for the system to just download the Robinhood app, and Bitcoin benefited, as it should do, as an asymmetric asset. It benefited disproportionately from that.
Yep.
So yeah, we can absolutely drop like a goddamn stone, and maybe it could be that the ETF is the fundamental event, and this genuinely was the mid-cycle top, and it's 49 is the highest price we see for the next year. Maybe Bitcoin's only worth 30,000 fundamentally right now, and we it will take time to see. I'm not saying that'll happen, but yeah, I think it's one of those bold claims that you can make, that I do think that before we break out to new all-time highs, and that's within the caveat that if we break down from here, yeah, I'd like to say this is it is a Monday, and we've had a very, very bad Monday. It's got all week to settle out. Let's see where this week closes. But if it starts to chart lower and breaks this 40k level, look out below. And technically, I don't think we have much support, and I don't think that just because there's an ETF, that doesn't mean that fundamentally we have to hold the price up, because we have seen how thinly traded these markets are, and also we've seen that futures markets can dictate the spot price of Bitcoin.
Sure.
And we just have had a glut of institutional money, more than anyone in crypto has, which now means that this is another avenue for paper money, for unlimited money, for borrowed money on margin to move around what is now an incredibly small asset. And Bitcoin can be buffeted around. Just we're caught with we're a dinghy in the storm. And yeah, it can get volatile. And when we say volatile, that's not 5-10% in a day. I am talking 10, 20, 30% moves routinely in both directions. And I kind of hope we get it. It'll be really fun.
Sure.
It will also be
I actually agree.
And yeah, and the overarching advice is don't trade, just buy the dips and buy them carefully. And if you are trading, don't trade on leverage. And if you do trade on leverage, don't use too much leverage. And if you're going to use too much leverage, only use tiny positions. And if you don't use tiny positions, good luck. See you when you're broke.
So I want to round this thing off. I need to round this off right now because we started a bit late with this. In the beginning, we said we might see a wick start to form, and we might close above the trend line, and so on and so forth. So currently, we are doing that, but I'm looking at a daily candle here. All right, it seems that we have started a shorter term correction a little bit up, which doesn't mean anything. Right, it might be a retest of coming back up and hitting your head on this trend line now, but currently, for us to go sideways or up, for me, this daily candle needs to close above this super trend line right here, the green line, which means it needs to close above 40,505 essentially. If it doesn't do that for me, okay, then we have super trend on the daily, has flipped red. It hasn't been red since September, the 30th of September, 2023. And if it turns red, yes, look, right here, you can move sideways for sure. It can also move down, but we don't know what's going to happen yet, right? But for now, for me, this is, if it doesn't close above 40.5, I'm seeing a continued downtrend to either 38, hopefully not further down, but 32 is on the table. It really is. And I think a lot of people, you need to get mentally prepared for that, because I know a lot of people in our Discord are very new to this. They joined the crypto space in 2023. All you know is up. And trust me when I say, if you thought the 20% corrections were like, oh, you know, I have a friend of mine who sends me a message every time there's a big red candle. And this is normal for someone who's only been in an uptrend so far. When you see a red candle of 5% down, he goes, "Oh, slaughter." I'm like, buddy,
Noise.
You just wait and
Barely
see. And
noise.
yeah, it's a little bit of noise, and I understand the way you're feeling about these dumps, and it's probably him just kind of joking around, to be fair. But a 10% candle on Bitcoin is kind of a standard move, honestly. It's like, like once you see the big, 40 or like say 30% candle that happens within 15 minutes, then you come to talk to me about slaughter. that's not, I don't, yeah, we'll see if we see that, but I need to round this off. I'm sorry, I'm just babbling right now. Either way, let's see if we go to 32, maybe.
Let's see.
Yeah. I have to run this off because, first of all, my fiance is going to bed, and secondly, I need to start planning out how to keep my long alive that I started building small positions on, and it's just grown and grown and grown, and we'll see how it goes. It's fine.
This and that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you get a cascading liquidation. Because people buy in. No, but also it's very true. How it happens. People buy in,
and then they run out of funds.
You are now in a choice. You can now continue to add, but if you think that it's going to be a loss, well, what are you going to do? Well, as soon as it comes up to resistance, you're going to sell. So why does resistance work? Yeah, because everyone sells there, and then you're going to take that loss. And if you don't take the loss, the price is going to come back down, and then you're going to decide not to add, in which case you then have to set a stop loss, or you have to add, in which case you bring your liquidation price closer. Either way, you're putting the target on your back, and the market will punish people who put targets on their backs. So don't do it.
Yes. So like I said, we have said this before, I think, don't mess with leverage and futures trading if you don't know what you're doing. Because what I'm doing is I'm building a very long-term long, and it's supposed to kind of go down. And I'm happy it does, because that means I lower my entry and lower my liquidation and everything. And there's miles between each liquidation because the position is low leverage, or well, not low, but it's fairly low. So I can keep adding to it for a long time. I can probably add to it all the way down to 20K if I wanted to. Okay. But if you don't plan that out before you open the position, you are going to get liquidated when something big happens. End of story. Either way, we're running this off. We'll see you on tomorrow, right? I think we're doing a macro Tuesday, and
indeed.
We'll see you there. Remember to like, subscribe, share with your friends, all that stuff. Join the Discord. That's the most important piece, because we're always there, and we do this type of stuff all the time in there. So join us there, and we'll see you then. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.